Just doing a quick check to make sure that everyone online at home can hear. So I'm not sure if anyone can confirm that for us. Thumbs up or. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sheila Builder, and I'm the Superintendent of Student Achievement with the Thames Valley District School Board with responsibilities for the schools in Adelaide, Metcalfe, and Strathroy-Caradoc area. I want to welcome you this evening to our attendance area review meeting for this committee. Also in attendance here this evening are my colleagues Jeff Vogt, Superintendent of Facility Services and Capital Planning, and Superintendent Lynn Griffith-Jones, who holds responsibilities as Superintendent for Human Resources. Sitting next to me in the room tonight are Ben Puzanoff and Cassandra Harms from our planning team. We welcome all of you on the call on this dreary evening, and thank you so much for volunteering to represent the schools in this attendance area review and as part of the committee. This is an extremely important process, and you are vital to that process. So tonight, we are presenting what is called the Initial Attendance Area Review Report for Adelaide, Metcalfe, and Strathroy-Caradoc. The report contemplates potential attendance boundary changes. So this meeting is the first step in the public consultation process and is intended to provide school communities of which you are a part with information regarding what we are considering and how to provide the board with your feedback, your comments, and your suggestions. So you can see on the screen here the agenda for tonight. We'll give you a bit of background information, which is what I'm providing right now. We will go through the attendance area review process, the procedure document, and the important timelines. We'll do a quick review of roles and responsibilities for you as ARC members. And then there will be a presentation of the initial attendance area review report. And there is an opportunity for questions and answers at the end before we wrap up. We are monitoring a chat box for the discussion today. As some of the questions may be answered throughout the course of the presentation, we'll address questions during the Q&A portion of the meeting at the end. We do encourage you to ask questions and seek clarification verbally during that portion of the agenda. So not during the presentation, but later on, as you see in agenda number 5. I am now going to hand over the mic and the presentation over to Ben to provide an overview of the attendance area review process.
Thank you very much, Sheila, and good evening, everyone. Before we outline the potential boundary changes under consideration, we're going to start by providing an overview of this attendance area review process and the role of attendance area review committee members. An attendance area review is a process by which Thames Valley changes boundaries to optimize enrollment and balance attendance across specific geographic areas. This is a process that's generally needed because of either growing or declining enrollment, and this is done in order to ensure an optimal learning environment continues to be offered to all of our students. Thames Valley has a procedure for attendance area reviews, and this is available through our attendance area review website, which is highlighted there on the screen, tvdsb.ca/amscaar. The website has many other resources, including a Q&A section and maps that show potential boundary changes for each school. Prior to considering an attendance area review report, the Board of Trustees receives an initial attendance area review report from administration that details current and potential boundaries, current enrollment and accommodations, enrollment projections for the area, current and proposed residential development, as well as a potential timeline for implementation of any specific changes. If trustees decide to proceed with the process, formal public consultation is then undertaken through the formation of an attendance area review committee, as well as school-level subcommittees, whose feedback and input is considered by trustees through the decision-making process. The initial attendance area review report for this particular review was presented to trustees in October. Administration was then asked to proceed with obtaining public feedback. Volunteers to sit on this attendance area review committee were then recruited with the help of principals of the schools involved in this review. We'd like to again thank each and every one of you for volunteering to represent your school communities. Following this evening's attendance area review committee meeting, Attendance Area Review Committee members for each school will be asked to host school-level meetings to obtain feedback from each school community regarding the options contained in this report. The Attendance Area Review Committee members of each school subcommittee will need to designate both a chair and a secretary for their school-level meetings in order to help manage the discussion as well as to capture feedback. Following the receipt of public feedback from the school communities, administration will then review the comments provided and prepare what's known as a final attendance area review report. Our goal through the public consultation process is always to strengthen the options under consideration. As part of the attendance area review process, members of the public are also provided with the opportunity to make delegations to the Board of Trustees regarding that final attendance area review report and the recommendations contained within it. This is then followed by a decision by trustees at a subsequent meeting of the board. Once a decision is made, administration then works to implement the boundary changes in accordance with the timeline as established by trustees. The slide up on the screen provides an overview of the timeline for this particular review. So following this evening's Attendance Area Review Committee meeting, it's expected that the school-level subcommittee meetings to obtain public feedback would be held from now through to early February. In accordance with the procedure, there are a number of important dates specifically related to public consultation for this process. January 23rd will be the deadline for school subcommittees to request any additional information that school communities may require to supplement the information contained in the initial report that you'll hear about this evening. This information would be intended to assist school communities with evaluating the options under consideration. Administration would distribute any additional material that is requested to all subcommittees involved in the review. Next is February 6th, which is the last date on which school-level meetings may be held. And then finally, February 20th is the deadline for subcommittees to submit reports on their school subcommittees' input. Administration will be reviewing the public feedback received through the school community reports and assembling that final attendance area review report for trustees' consideration. Again, with the goal being to improve upon the options presented this evening. Presentation of the final report, public delegations, and the trustee decision are expected to occur in April and May, with the implementation of any approved boundary changes planned for September of 2026 at the earliest. As mentioned, the Attendance Area Review Committee is made up of volunteers from each school that is involved in the attendance area review process, including parents and caregivers, chair of the school council, and chair of the Home and School Association. Attendance Area Review Committee members are vital to the success of the attendance area review process and critical for obtaining feedback from school communities regarding the boundary change options that are under consideration. In addition to running the school-level meetings, Attendance Area Review Committee members are responsible for producing that final subcommittee report that documents and summarizes the public feedback from the school community. Following this meeting this evening, Thames Valley Administration will be providing Attendance Area Review Committee members with template documents to assist with running subcommittee meetings, including agenda and minute-taking documents, as well as a subcommittee report template. This presentation deck will also be included. Subcommittees are welcome to supplement this information with any additional details as they see fit. Thames Valley staff will act as a resource following this meeting if any additional questions arise or if additional information is required by the school communities in order to evaluate the options you'll hear about this evening. I'm now going to pass the presentation over to Cassandra to review the initial attendance area review report.
Thank you, Ben. Several objectives were set for this review, beginning with optimizing learning environments for all students. Secondly, we wanted to explore potential boundary changes for Caradoc Public School and Adelaide W.G. MacDonald Public School to see if we could relieve current and incoming pressure at those schools. Finally, we wanted to balance enrollment pressure in the Strathroy area by reducing enrollment at Caradoc North Public School and positioning the Strathroy community for a future new school. After looking into boundary changes for Caradoc Public School, it became clear that the enrollment pressure that the school is experiencing is from housing development taking place right in Mount Bridges. This means that any potential boundary changes we could propose would result in very little impact or students moving out of their community and away from their local school. Because of this, the long-term accommodation plan for this school is requesting funding from the Ministry of Education for a permanent addition. For Adelaide W.G. Macdonald Public School, most of the growing enrollment pressure is coming from inside Strathroy. This is a result of the town expanding their settlement area, or where housing development is allowed to take place, after the attendance area boundary was created. Most new students are residing in pockets on the west and north sides of town. We do not want to reduce enrollment at the school to a level that negatively impacts programming, and therefore are not recommending any boundary changes for Adelaide Macdonald that will impact current students. We are recommending some future changes to the boundary that would come into effect once a new school is approved. We will speak in more detail on the proposed changes later in the presentation. After completing the analysis, the recommended changes have been broken into 3 phases. Firstly, it is recommended that a small boundary change is made to relieve enrollment pressure at Caradoc North Public School. Secondly, an additional boundary change is recommended to balance resulting enrollment between Mary Wright Public School and North Meadows Public School. And finally, a future attendance area for a future new school in Strathroy is recommended and would take effect once funding for that new school is approved. On the screen, you can see the current and projected enrollment and resulting school utilization rates involved in the analysis. These numbers represent what would happen if no changes were made. We know that Caradoc Public School's ultimate solution is a permanent addition, but Caradoc North is operating over capacity as well, expected to reach almost 130% utilization by 2031. Meanwhile, Mary Wright and North Meadows will continue to have space nearby. The map on the screen visually shows the current school utilization rates, with Caradoc North at the top of the yellow range at 110%, and Mary Wright near the bottom of the range at 94%. Both North Meadows and Adelaide W.G. Macdonald both show that they have some space to accommodate additional students. We will now go through the proposed boundary change options, beginning with Phase 1. Phase 1, Option 1, proposes designating a portion of the current Caradoc North boundary to Mary Wright. The proposed area is outlined on the map in orange. This option would move approximately 66 students to Mary Wright, relieving some enrollment pressure at Caradoc North while still leaving enough students to provide ample programming. This is administration's recommended option. As a second option for the community to consider, Phase 1 Option 2 proposes designating an additional portion of the current Caradoc North boundary to Mary Wright. This would bring the total number of students moved to 114. This option would relieve additional enrollment pressure at Caradoc North, but would reduce enrollment to a level that does not best support programming for that school. This slide shows the enrollment and school utilization differences between the Phase 1 options. The top table shows enrollment if no changes are made. The middle table shows enrollment if Phase 1 Option 1 is approved, bringing long-term school utilization at Caradoc North down to approximately 100% rather than 130%. Mary Wright would also hover around 100% utilization. The bottom table shows enrollment if Phase 1 Option 2 is approved, bringing Caradoc North down to approximately 77% and Mary Wright up to 113%, still likely resulting in a long-term enrollment imbalance. Phase 2 would build on changes that are approved as part of Phase 1. Phase 2 Option 1 proposes to designate a portion of the current Mary Wright boundary to North Meadows. This area is shown outlined in green on the map. This option would move approximately 29 students from Mary Wright to North Meadows, and this is administration's recommended option. As an alternative option for the community to consider, Phase 2, Option 2 proposes designating a larger portion of the current Mary Wright boundary to North Meadows. This additional portion is outlined in green on the map. This option would result in the movement of approximately 143 students from Mary Wright to North Meadows. This slide shows the comparison between the two options. It is important to note that all of the tables shown here include enrollment changes that would result from approving Phase 1, Option 1 for the purposes of providing a projected scenario. The top table shows enrollment if Phase 1, Option 1 was approved and no further changes were made. The middle table shows enrollment if Phase 2, Option 1 were approved. Mary Wright and North Meadows would both be operating close to capacity in the long term. The bottom table shows enrollment if Phase 2, Option 2 were approved. Mary Wright would be operating under capacity, while North Meadows would now be operating at approximately 114% utilization. Phase 3 looks to set up an attendance area for a future new elementary school in Strathroy. The map on the screen right now shows the proposed new school boundary outlined in purple. It also shows the North Meadows and Mary Wright attendance areas if Phase 1 Option 1 and Phase 2 Option 1 were both approved. Given the planned development for the community of Strathroy, specifically the North Meadows secondary plan area that is located in the current North Meadows and Adelaide W.G. Macdonald attendance boundaries, it is anticipated that a new elementary school will be needed. The timing of this new school is very dependent on the ultimate amount and timing of housing development. Phase 3 proposes to create a new school boundary that takes in part of the current and proposed Mary Wright, North Meadows, and Adelaide W.G. Macdonald attendance boundaries. It is important to note that there are very few Adelaide W.G. Macdonald students in the portion of the boundary that is proposed to be designated to the new school, and all current students are expected to age out of the elementary grades before Phase 3 can be implemented. Approximately 151 students would be moved from North Meadows to the new school. 114 students would be moved from Mary Wright to the new school, and 53 future students that would have otherwise attended Adelaide W.G. Macdonald would attend the new school. This slide shows the expected enrollment at each of the schools if this proposed future attendance area were approved. The top table shows enrollment at each school without a future new elementary school. After factoring in the housing development planned as part of the North Meadows secondary plan that is anticipated to start coming online in the late 2020s and early 2030s, both Adelaide W.G. Macdonald and North Meadows would experience significant enrollment growth. Both schools would be heavily reliant on portables in the long term. The bottom table shows enrollment with a future new elementary school. In the long term, all area schools would be operating between 87 and 96% capacity, with room to grow if more housing than expected is built. Establishing an attendance area for a future new elementary school as part of this review will help TVDSB to be prepared to submit a business case to the Ministry of Education at the earliest appropriate opportunity to support growth in the Strathroy-Caradoc and Adelaide Metcalfe communities.
So at this point in time, as promised, we are going to open it up for questions and answers. We recognize, we'll provide answers to your questions, hopefully. We recognize that's a lot of information that has been shared with you, some very exciting, obviously, but lots of phases to get through. So we are here for you. You have the opportunity to ask questions verbally or to put them in the Q&A feature, which is online in your Teams channel or on your Teams little dashboard there. I just want to follow up on a couple of pieces that Ben suggested while you're formulating your question. The PowerPoint will be sent out tomorrow for those who are curious to have the slides that were presented tonight. And we will, at the end, again, restate the website for anyone who missed it. Just looking to see if we have any hands. Amanda.
Hi. I was just wondering how the committee would go about getting further information if we wanted some data and statistics around the numbers that you guys are quoting.
Thank you very much for the question. We're certainly happy to provide that information at any time. So after this evening's meeting, if subcommittees want to sort of get together and assemble a list of questions to send to us, we will be sharing, as mentioned, a template set of documents for hosting school level meetings, and in there there'll be information about asking those questions. And certainly, if you wouldn't want to do so sort of in advance of that, feel free to also utilize the Q&A section of the website. That's tvdsb slash .ca slash amscaar.
So just to be clear, we would have to request that through the website, or would that be through Sonia that's been emailing us? Sorry.
Either approach is fine. We'll be sure to get the information out to all subcommittees once it's available.
Thank you.
And thank you. I recognize that some of you may be listening through YouTube. So we just received a notification that you may not be able to hear the questions through YouTube. So I just want to restate, you may have heard Ben's response. The question was, how could subcommittees get additional information if they wish to receive it? So sorry about that little technical glitch. Yes, Jonathan, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Excuse me. Is there a designated number of homes that would need to be added into the North Meadow Secondary Plan in order to trigger the new public school? And just if we could have some information around that in case the question comes up.
Okay, so the question is, are there designated number of homes required? And I'll let Ben answer the rest of the question.
Maybe I'll start, and Cassandra, feel free to jump in if I miss anything. So it's not so much the number of homes, but the number of students that would yield from new residential developments that are happening in Strathroy-Caradoc. So the school size was shown on the presentation there. What we're initially sort of thinking at this point is a school with a capacity of 430 students. And as you can see there, in the 2030s is likely when most of those students would substantiate to the point where we would have a successful business case to the Ministry of Education. However, our team, led by Cassandra specifically for Middlesex, does monitor all of the development activity happening out in Strathroy-Caradoc and Adelaide Metcalfe. So in the event that development comes online quicker, we'll certainly be in a position to seek capital approvals from the Ministry of Education sooner.
Maybe I'll just quickly add as well, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, as this is a large area that is set to be developed. We were quite aggressive in our projections for units because we know that this growth is coming. And we are in regular communication with planning staff in Strathroy-Caradoc.
Thank you. We do appreciate the question, so please don't be shy. That's what we're here for tonight. So I think we have Rhonda with her hand up.
Hi, yeah, it's Rhonda Stinson, principal at Caradoc North. Question for the dates for the public meetings. Are those set by the committee, or will we be given the dates?
So I'm just going to repeat the question. It's about this slide that shared the dates for the public meeting. So they're now, Ben has put them back up on the slide, and Ben's going to explain how that process is established.
Thank you very much for the question, Rhonda. So for the subcommittee meetings, those are set by the committee members. And essentially what we would do with help from our communications team is help distribute notices of those meetings to all school communities that are scheduling these, and also posting these up on the website. So typically we would want, approximately 10 business days notice so we can get proper notice out to families.
So essentially, those of you who are planners and like to think ahead, the purpose for tonight in this slide is for you to consider those dates. Why the timeline is set in this way is it's part of the Thames Valley District School Board's procedure for attendance area. So there is a specific timeline that we do need to adhere to. So this gives you an idea of when you can establish your dates and the process as it progresses up until next year. So seeing no further questions, though, do want to just restate that we're always available for questions as the process progresses. Do want to, on behalf of the committee and the Thames Valley District School Board, again, thank you for your time and your volunteerism towards this. We are here to support you. Please do not hesitate to reach out through the website. I will just restate the website again. It's TVDSB, so Thames Valley District School Board.ca /AMSCAAR, so Adelaide Metcalfe Strathroy-Caradoc Attendance Area Review. It's your go-to one-stop for all the information that you need through this process. And again, we thank you for your time tonight and look forward to hearing from you.